the biggest news, which is crazy, it shouldn't be the biggest news, but it is, whatever. Bronny James, we came on here last time. He's been a topic of conversation on the last couple episodes. You remember Pavi cut me off like a month ago, said, let's talk about something that actually matters. We all made our votes on what team was going to draft it, and I think all of us are right. Is he was drafted with the 55th pick last week by his dad's Los Angeles Lakers. LeBron went on to sign a 2-year, $100 million extension, which a player option after year one, which we'll be back here doing this shit again next year. I just want to say this, man. I talked about this on BOMM podcast. Shout out my homie Black Trey. Shout out the homie Jerv. Shout out my man Juju Gotti from Lebatard Show. He's also co-host of the BOMM podcast. I was honored to be a guest on their pod this past
You
week.
switching up on us again, huh?
Bang, I'm going Hollywood. I was on CSGO and now I'm on this pod. But
Hollywood Scott.
That's good. No, I put the shades on, nigga. I got some shades on. No, let me go there. I'm not gonna do that. But anyway, so we were on there talking about the draft and Bronny getting drafted. Here's my thing. I didn't want to talk about it on the internet because Twitter's not a place for nuance, and everybody is so focused on the other aspects of it. I'm gonna say this. One, I'm happy for Bronny. I wish Bronny well. I hope Bronny has a great career. I'm not going to hate on no 19, 20-year-old kid just because I'm not a fan of his father. Two, it's even a blessing that he's even alive right now. Forget basketball. It's a blessing that he's alive right now after the heart problems he had last year. So, and I'm not even mad at LeBron. I have no problem with nepotism. I think Bomani Jones' take on nepotism was crazy. He was doing a lot, and I'm a fan of Bomani. He was wild. If I had a son and I had the power that LeBron James had, I'd do the same thing. But the issue to me here is we got to stop acting like this is a King Griffey Jr., King Griffey Sr. type of situation. As it just said by Woj reported, he's going to be spending majority of his season with the South Bay Lakers, despite the fact he's got a guaranteed contract. But they said they're planning to have him and his father on the same court the first week of the season. To me, this is just for show. This has nothing to do with basketball. It's just so they can get their Laker moment off. And as a media member, I have a problem with that. I'm sorry. It's wild corny to me. It's just we're doing too much for somebody that I feel needs to be slowly guided in. I'm not, we can look at the numbers, 4 points per game. I think that if you're looking at just those numbers, we're not being sincere about it because it's a kid who probably shouldn't even be playing basketball with the heart situation. So I'm not going to take that 1 year and just, average 4 points, especially in a draft with niggas who's averaging 10 points was going top 10. I'm just not a fan of the coverage of it. Now, I get it. I'm not an idiot. I'm a media veteran. I understand the storyline behind it. I'm just personally not a fan of it, and we're going to be doing too much coverage about this entire season. And we even saw in the press conference when they introduced Bronny and the other Lakers draft pick. I don't remember the young man's name right now.
Dalton Connect.
Dalton Connect. Okay, yeah, and he was a little annoyed by the questions about his father, and I was like, "Buckle up, kid. This is what you signed up for. It's going to be like this through the entire season." So that's just my opinion on that. I'm going to bring Mikey in right now as we get right into this. Mikey, what's going on, bro?
What's the word, y'all?
Oh yeah,
Friday.
Friday, cracking the Modelo, man. Like I told Ben, I got some people's tequila in here right now.
Like bang, man. Like
Shots go
bang.
out.
Like bang. I was in the office today. I was a working man, so feels good to be back at the crib.
Feels good to be back. Got everybody here, man. We were just talking about Bronny. I'm gonna go to Bang first, man. What's your opinion on this whole Bronny situation that we've seen really just the last couple months, but especially this last week?
The resident father.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you when it's your son. I'm gonna do whatever I can for my son. I think it's a good moment for a media thing. I think you are correct. This ain't King Griffey Jr. and King Griffey Sr. King Griffey Jr. came in as a better prospect as his daddy, as a better pro as his daddy. So it's kind of like the opposite. But his daddy was a serviceable outfielder in major leagues for years. All right, so it's definitely different. The only thing I don't like about this is I don't think that they're setting up Bronny in the right way. I don't think that he is being set up to win. He's coming to a team to where you have a brand new coach that has no track record, and you got your daddy on there. You bring him in for a week for some ceremonial stuff, and then you send him over to the G League, right? If that's the case, he could have did this shit with any other team that he was on. That he could have did this with any team that was drafted, and he probably could have went to a team that has a better reputation right now with developing players. Like the Lakers, what I get what everybody is saying and all of that stuff, and right. I don't agree necessarily with what Bomani Jones was pretty much saying through the majority of his rant. The only thing is that if you're going to do this, you need to set up your son the right way. So when people talking about nepotism works when you set up your child, your seed the right way. You just don't. Now, if the son fails, he fails. But you're not just gonna bring your son in and just be like, "Yo, run this," and it's a situation where there's no track record of anything. Where's the track record of JJ Redick or even the Lakers program in the last 5 years developing players? They got rid of them all when LeBron got there. There's no track record for the Lakers developing and bringing up players. So why do we think that's going to change with Bronny? That's why I don't like this. That's the only thing about this that I don't like. I like the fact that his father looked out. I just don't think that this situation is going to create a situation for Bronny that's going to make him a serviceable guard in the NBA. I would have rather him went to another team if that was going to be the case. I don't trust the Lakers in player development because that's not something that they have done for years. And if somebody can prove to me who that player was that really became serviceable and really became a star player for the Lakers through player development in the last couple of years outside of Austin Reeves, then I'll retract that statement. But they're not too keen on player development. They want to get players now to win. So it's like, all right, cool. This is great. This is a great photo op. Go ahead and do all of the pomp and circumstances. But what's going to happen when he play a game? Who's going to coach him up?
Yeah, and I think like if you bring it in a situation like Bronny, you definitely want a more experienced coach than what you have with JJ Redick. Joe, you had a different opinion a little bit than what me and Bang are saying. What you think about the whole Bronny thing?
I mean, he was a solid high school prospect. I think those who, I hope you don't hear my dog in the background, but those who are denying that he was a good high school prospect are denying reality. He was a 4-star prospect, very good defender, solid scorer, passed the ball well, rebounded well. He was a good prospect. Unfortunately, he goes to USC. He deals with heart issues, and this season, freshman year, was underwhelming. Absolutely. He dealt with the fact that he did not have a lot of time to adjust to that college level, and he's dealing with the fact that he is an undersized guard. That being said, the time he spent, he averaged 5 points, 2 rebounds, 2 assists, nothing crazy. He was fine. He was a fine player, and it's the second round. It's not like we're picking a first-round player. It's the second round. Zach LaVine, who was a first-rounder, averaged under 10 points in college. It's fine. That being said, is it nepotism? Of course it's nepotism. Is the Lakers doing a lot with the rollout? Yes, but at the same time, it's based on what the market wants, what people want to see, and they want to see it. And so they're going to put the content out there that gets people talking, whether it's negative, whether it's positive, but it's not that big of a deal. It would be different if he was a lottery pick, where I would say, wow, you just kind of wasted your prized possession with your picks by getting him, because that doesn't make any sense. But this is the NBA draft. The NFL draft, a second-round pick, nuts. But for me, this is the equivalent of giving a 7th rounder. If Bronny was a football player, and he was being drafted in the 7th round of the NFL draft, I go, it's fine. Punters and kickers get drafted there. But it's just not as big of a deal as a lot of people make it out to be. That being said, does it still do we deal with the trend of the Lakers not really knowing what they're doing, or just trying to throw shit at the wall and hoping it sticks? Well, yeah. And the signing of JJ Redick as a coach is a prime example of that. No experience. All of a sudden, he's a podcaster, former NBA player podcaster. He's your coach, and then you're pairing him up with a player who is definitely a project. It's not a recipe for success. Absolutely not. But I also don't think it's that big of a deal. He's a late rounder, and not in a non-first rounder, it's fine. I don't think we should make that big of a deal and act like this is a kid who never played college, who was ass in high school. No, he's a talented kid. And I think his ceiling is probably 12, 15 points per game in the NBA. But that's if he has good coaching, good growth. He's a product. He's a raw talent that needs to be refined. But the talent is there.
We got Mikey in the bill. You can follow Mikey at Junior_Solito. Mikey, what's your take on this whole Bronny thing we've seen this last week?
I think it's more. I don't have an issue with obviously the Lakers taking LeBron or taking LeBron's son. To go back to Bang's point, you talk about setting up Bronny for success and doing right by Bronny. I look at this move. This move isn't for LeBron or isn't for Bronny. This is for LeBron James and the James family. This is something that has obviously never been done in the NBA before. Because if it was about setting up Bronny for success, they would have pushed him to either stay at USC or transfer to another college and get another year of seasoning under his belt. Kind of use last year as a red shirt year, because I agree with Flows. He is an NBA talent. He will be able to contribute on the defensive end. Probably within the first couple weeks. I see his ceiling as somebody like a Gary Harris. Obviously he's about 2 inches shorter than Gary Harris. Gary Harris is about 6'4", Bronny at 6'2". But this is more about LeBron and that James family going ahead and having this monumental moment. If they had Bronny's best interest at heart for his career, Bronny would have been at school somewhere and they would have done this next year. But to me, this kind of signals, I think, what is maybe LeBron James. We're probably entering that final year. I know he signed a 2-year deal, but that really is a player option. So he's on a year-to-year basis. I think this might be, kind of like that quiet announcement of, hey, like, this is going to be my last year, but I wanted to have this on my belt. Whether we win a championship or not, at least I can say my very last year in the league, I got to play with my son.
I think one thing, LeBron, I'm with you as far as like the year-by-year thing, and we'll get into the contract in a minute. I do think that with LeBron, if we know anything about Raymond, is he will not do anything quietly. He is going to have that farewell tour. If Dwayne Wade got one, that nigga's like, where's mine? 100%. It could be late. It could be something like maybe All-Star break he makes it. But I do think that whether it's this year or next year, the year after this coming season, that it will probably be the end. Dante, take us home with this Bronny topic, man. What's your thoughts?
The more we look at it, and when you listen to the Lakers and Rob Pelinka and JJ Redick and the way they emphasize player development, this is essentially the same as somebody who's a CEO getting his son an internship at the company he worked for. Like they're going to use Bron as their guinea pig to show off their new player development plans. So the more the dust is settled. I know everybody's really upset about it, but there's nothing to be upset about. He got a standard second round contract. We got numerous players through history that have gotten that same $7 million deal. I know people were looking at the money at first like, nah, that's crazy. But when you have been earmarked to be a part of somebody's player development plan, they tend to do shit like this. So the money is no big deal. I think people really need to let it go. But I do agree with what Mikey said. And like, I think LeBron is on his way toward the end. And so he was like, as I do this, I want to have my son with me. So, whatever Bronny becomes is up to, his work ethic and everything they put around him. But we know they're going to give him the best options available. And, but I think more than anything, this is something, and this is where I agree with Bomani, where this is about LeBron James. This ain't about Bronny. As much as we want it to be, and as much people are trying to, push it that way, this is about LeBron and finishing up his story. He's been, someone who has been heavy on his legacy and really, curated the way people perceive him. And so now we at a point now where it's like, if he can do this and pull this off, and then his kid becomes a rotation player in the NBA as he goes out, and then he got another one coming in as he's going out, because he says a 2-year deal. That's a lot. That's a lot for him, for his legacy. So it works both ways. But I think as far as Bronny, like Flo said, bro, before the heart attack, he was projected as a first rounder. The skill set is there. Also at USC, he was behind two NBA guards. They both got drafted, so it's not like he was just playing with bums and couldn't get playing time. So everything that happened with the cardiac arrest really affected him at USC, and now you're going to see him in a space with, like I said, the best trainers, best everything at his beck and call. So I think it's really a matter of what he puts into it. So I think when we look back at this, obviously you got people that's going to say, LeBron is running the franchise and all that other shit, but it's not going to be a big deal at the end of the day.
So
I will say though, I think
it's
bad advice on the part of the people around Bronny, his father, agents, whoever it is. They should have told him to stay one more year. Stay one more year and just give yourself time to adjust your game. Because 5 points, 2 rebounds, 2 assists, like a 0.3 blocks or something, is fine for your first year, especially coming off a cardiac arrest. That's nuts. Getting your body to adapt to that, but then taking that extra year to actually showcase who you are, I think would have given him a much better standing. And in my mind, if he takes that second year, I think he'll be much closer to a lottery pick. Not going to become one, but much closer to one.
So that's why, real quick, that's the only reason why I don't like this. That's the only part of this I don't like. If you're looking at this at the best interest of your kid, then staying one more year don't hurt, especially when you signed a 2-year deal. But I also believe that it's easier to do it now because you can kind of control the situation with him being a second round prospect. If he goes out there and he does what I think every last one of us think he can do, you can't control that once he becomes a first round prospect. Now you get there, somebody gonna pick him and you ain't gonna get this opportunity. But that's why also I believe that this is doing Bronny a disservice because you're not setting him up to win. See, the whole thing about nepotism is not just to get your kid a job and get him out your house. The whole thing about nepotism is setting up your kid to win. That whole thing about the internship, you go and get your son an internship. The whole point of it is for that son to grow off of that internship and then take over the company. And you damn well better believe there's a whole bunch of rich dudes out here that practice nepotism, and then they son be out there snorting coke and doing dumb shit, and then they be like, "Goddamn, Brad, you're fucking up the goddamn name, Brad. You're fucking up the goddamn name."
You mean Hunter Biden?
Basically, you know what I'm saying? So the way this works is if this man comes out, I ain't saying he got to be an all-stars first year, but you have to see the talent actually grown and cultivated. And I just don't think this situation makes for that because you're putting so much pressure on the kid, and we're giving his ceilings as people like Gary Harris and shit. Like, nah, if he stays there one more year, that comp goes up. Not saying that's a wrong comp and that's a bogus comp. What I'm saying is that the more you pour into him, the better he will be short-term and long-term. And I just don't think LeBron James or the Lakers or Rich Paul are setting him up for that. They're setting him up for a photo shoot. And that's what I'm nervous about.
But it's the thing, though. You're not. If it's that's the thing. Like the talent he's going to be playing against is going to be better than the talent he would play if he would have stayed at USC. Like,
I'm not saying that. I just want to be clear.
That's my thing. But if we're talking about development, when we talk about iron sharp as iron, then they wanted him around professionals as opposed to going back to college with a bunch of motherfuckers that are concerned with NIL. And with a guy like Bronny James, that ain't got that's on the back burner.
That sounds good on paper. That sounds that sounds good on paper. And yes, that's fact. But he still has to develop. Just because you have all of those things around you, that doesn't mean that player is going to develop. That's why I don't think this is a perfect situation.
Yeah, but it's not a situation where he's going to just be on the Lakers. He's like, let's be clear, he's going to spend the bulk of his time with the Lakers. Like that's
Did the Bulls just get someone who literally was in the G League for a year and then boosted himself up, and then he's a damn good player? So the fact that my main worry was maybe.
Oh no, Mathis was actually projected to be a first round pick. And he was one of at the time.
We ain't talking about him.
I'm talking about him.
Mathis Buzelis, however you pronounce his last name, he was projected to be a top 5 pick. and they wanted him to go to school, but he decided to go play against grown men in the G League, and the shit didn't look good for a while. Like, he decided to make that decision. He was like, no, I want to play against grown men. And then that shooting percentage wasn't so hot. He was like 26% from three and all of that stuff. All I'm saying is just because he has that opportunity to do it, that does not mean it's going to happen. On the flip side, he go back to school and he could go tear his ACL and then he fucked up either way. I just don't think that the Lakers is the perfect setup for him because they don't have a history at this.
Let's be real. The Lakers have never developed anybody. Like, through the history of anybody. Like, when they got, just look at like Laker history from the jump. Like, they've always been a free agent kind of team or a trade kind of team. You know, they signed Kareem Abdul-Jabbar as a free agent. I think they either traded or signed Will Chamberlain. Magic Johnson they drafted, but Magic Johnson wasn't somebody who needed to be developed. Magic Johnson won NBA Finals MVP his rookie year. You know, Shaq was signed as a free agent. Kobe, I mean, I guess you can give them development. Kobe's the only one I give him credit that they developed. Kobe had developed. That's it. Kobe was high school. He was green right behind the ears. So Kobe's really the only one I can think out of their entire history, and that's fine. But I think that we're not making it simple enough. We can name all. This is about LeBron, and this goes to the second part of this thing. That I don't necessarily have a problem with it, but I feel like more people need to be paying attention to it. The same things that the media, and I'm saying the media like we're not part of the media, but the same things that people killed Kobe for 10 years ago when he signed that poison pill contract they called it. It was 2 years, $48.5 million. Now I get it that the salary cap was way lower than it is now, but you signed a 2-year, $104 million contract. You going max. You put your team in the second apron tier, which means you can't add anybody. They can't even add DeMar DeRozan, which is why it looks like DeMar's probably going to Sacramento. You hard cap your team. All these different holes that they had on this team. Pelinka had a good team that won that intramural championship in 2020 and just say, you know what? I don't need these bigs anymore. Let me get rid of them. Let me get rid of a guy who was very important to our championship and won another championship in KCP. Let's get rid of him. Let's add Russell Westbrook. Like, all the things that Pelinka has done has been crazy. Like, look at some of these. Like, why does Max Christie need a player option? What are we doing? Like, there's so many things that LeBron and Rob Pelinka are doing that it's like, if you're Bronny, you don't want to be in a situation like this. Of course, you want to be in the NBA. If I was these other teams, I'd call Rich Paul bluff when they said he was going to Australia. You think LeBron wants his son to play in Australia? I was praying that the Celtics did some rival stuff and took him to pick before the Lakers took him. And when you talk about Bang about what the thought of nepotism is, to try to not only just get them a job but to have move up the ranks, the Lakers are the product of nepotism. Look at Jeannie Buss. But you know what the difference is? Jerry Buss put her up through the ranks. She didn't just start running the Lakers off top. She went and started. She was the form manager at first. And they had her run that little soccer team they had. It's like she ran through the ranks. And I think my biggest fear for Bronny, I don't want to be when his daddy retired. They're like, okay, we tried this.
Yep.
This is it. We gonna walk him, because it really feels like to me like LeBron and Rob Pelinka on two different pages. Bron was allegedly trying to find a way to win the championship. I'm gonna take $20 million less, but nobody wanted that $20 million. We've heard Buddy Hield said he decided to take the Warriors over Lakers because he didn't want to deal with that mess of the Lakers. Klay Thompson said he went to Dallas because he didn't want to deal with the Lakers. With all these different coaches who have, what's called JJ Redick don't have an assistant coach staff yet because all of them are turning them down.
Well, now he got Scott Brooks and
come on now, Scott Brooks
and somebody else. Goddamn,
Buddy from Toronto.
Nate McMillan. He got Nate McMillan and Scott Brooks.
With all due respect to those two men, when was the last time the two niggas been head coaches? That's all. But like,
and they got years as head coach experience.
They got, and then even then, I'd be like, nigga, I'm Nate McMillan, nigga. I want to be on a bench for JJ Redick. So it's like my fear for Bronny is I just hope that this isn't something where, remember, he's still 19, 20-year-old kid. He looked agitated in that press conference. What's it gonna be like when these niggas that lost 4 out of 5? You know what I'm saying? And, you know, somebody got hurt. So now Bronny got to be in the rotation. And Luka's like, oh, fool. You know, let me do this because he's going to be a target. There's going to be guys like, oh, you only here because your daddy. Like, is he ready for the stuff? Remember the stuff we talking about with Caitlin Clark? The difference is Caitlin Clark is actually amazing. And she is getting elbowed and stuff like that. There's going to be guys who are going to be trying to make a point. Well, this is LeBron James' son. We're going to try to do this to him. So I'm just hoping that he's ready. And I feel like this whole Laker thing is just kind of a mess right now.
Pat Bev ready. Pat Bev is licking
Pat
his shots
Bev.
now.
You know, I know Draymond's clutch, but Draymond mid-game ain't going to be thinking about clutch. Draymond going to be talking crazy.
I want to make it clear, just because I know we be clipping shit and I know people be looking at YouTube. I have no problem with the Lakers doing what they doing. I have no problem with LeBron James making it work so his son could be there. This is a great story. I think it is dope. And it's going to be a sight to see when they play the first game of the year. I just don't think it's a good setup for Bronny James to have a long-lasting NBA career. I don't think Bronny James wants to come in the NBA and be Vincent Askew. I think he wants to go up in there and be a real serviceable NBA player, a great contributor to a team, maybe even a starter. He didn't come here to be a victory cigar. He didn't come up in here to be a 10 for 11th man. And LeBron James don't want that for his son. He don't
want his son to be Jack Haley.
Right. He don't want his son to be Black Jack Haley. He don't want his son to be Ed Neely. He don't want his son to be none of them niggas. He want his son to maximize his NBA potential. I'm just not sure that the Lakers are going to be the team that does that, which means that his ass ain't going to be in the NBA after his daddy retires, and his ass is going to be like working in player development for the new Las Vegas team once they give that shit over to LeBron.
I'm glad you see that next play. And I'll say this, and then we can move on to our next topic too, is I kind of feel too like this is the Lakers. The Lakers are the Yankees of the NBA. They're going to get all the headlines. I'm not mad at that. But this is really becoming like what it is when we talk about the Cowboys. We know we're doing all this for the Cowboys so the niggas going home in the first round. We're doing all this for the Lakers for them to be a play-in team again. Like that's the thing that is just like, let's talk about some other stuff. And I'm not even mad at LeBron for getting this full money and all that either. But it's just funny how we treat different situations. Kobe was a team killer. Kobe did this. Kobe did that. Kobe did that. But with LeBron, it's nothing. We're not talking about how this has got the organization hold up. They can't make no moves. All the problems they had last year are the same. The only thing you added was Bronny and another dude who was a draft pick. I don't know where they go from here. Like, you can't even trade for a guy like a Jeremy Grant. How you going to fit that contract in there because of the way this is fit? So that to me is where I see just all of this stuff going. If I'm Anthony Davis, honestly, too, I'm looking at AD like, nigga, do I want to be here long term? Like, that's what I would look at. Like, when LeBron leaves, because it's going to be either a year or two from now, what's the plan? I wouldn't believe in Rob Pelinka, man. But let's.
Paper on these player haters, old news, money on the other line, so I'm not going to hold you. Money on the other line, so I'm